Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel once again. So as you know, during the end of the month, we do one analysis where we check the exponential moving averages of the Nifty 50 stocks and try to build a watch list to do our swing trading. So let me just walk you through that what we will be doing in this particular video. So we will be checking the exponential moving average of period 20 and period 100 and check out that whether or not there is any possibility of a crossover or not. And we will also check whether that would be a bullish crossover or a bearish crossover. So if you do not know, let me just brief you very quickly that what a bullish crossover and a bearish crossover means in terms of exponential moving averages. So if the lower period exponential moving average cuts the higher period exponential moving average from below, then that's a bullish sign. And if the lower period exponential moving average cuts the higher period moving average from upside, then that's a bearish sign. So we would be checking two pairs of exponential moving average. The first pair would include the EMA 20 and 100 period, and the second pair would include EMA 50 and 200 periods. And we will be checking for each one of the 50 stocks in the Nifty 50, and we will color code these particular stocks according to whether the crossover is bullish or bearish, or there has been no crossover and we might expect one crossover. Then we will, in that case, we will color that particular stock in blue. So let's start doing the analysis. The first stock will be Adani Ports. We'll just copy down this stock and go back to our terminal, and I'll paste the company name here. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Adani Ports is the first stock. All right, so before moving forward, let me just apply the template first. So as you can see, these are EMA of 20 period and EMA of 100 period. We will be checking for all the stocks, all the 50 stocks for the crossovers in EMA 20 and EMA 100. After doing all the 50 stocks with this particular pair, we will move on to the pair of where we include the EMAs of 50 period and 200 period. That's a bit longer time frame. It's much more shorter. All right. So one more important thing, we are doing this on a daily time frame, as you can watch on my screen. All right. So as you can see, the 20 period EMA, which is highlighted in green color, and the red one is 100 EMA. So as you can see, the two two moving averages are very close to each other, and we might see a crossover in a few days. Might be, or it can take a support from here and bounce back like that. So I'll just color code this particular stock as blue since there has been not a crossover in recent time, and but we may see one crossover in the 21. Next one is Asian Paints. Okay, it's taking a bit of time to load. Let's just wait. um, Let me just refresh the page once. All right, I'll Asian Paints it is. Let me apply the template once again. Yeah, so as you can see, they are too far away from each other and there has not been any crossover in the recent times. So we'll leave this particular stock, we'll ignore this. We'll move on to the next one, that is Axis Bank. Again, it's kind of flattish and the two moving averages are quite far away from each other. Next is Bajaj Auto. Okay, again, the moving averages are too far away. We will move on to the next one. Again, too far away. We'll skip this stock. Again, in Bajaj Finance, again the moving averages are too wide. We'll move on to BPCL. Okay, it's coming downwards, but still it's too far away. Again, it's a very subjective matter that whether you would consider this gap a very huge gap or a very small gap. So again, it depends from person to person, but still, I would be considering this as a very wide gap, so I will ignore this particular stock. Moving on to next is Bharti Airtel. Okay, so there has been a crossover. Let me just zoom in a little bit. There was a bullish crossover on 9th of June and sorry, on 10th of June, and again there was a bearish crossover on 23rd or 24th of June. So there has been a bearish crossover very recently around the end of the month. So I'll mark this particular stock as red. All right, sorry. It wasn't 21. Next is Britannia. There was a bullish crossover on 16th of June. It's kind of in the middle, so let's just mark it as green. Again, it's coming downward, so we might have to see whether or not this crossover is successful. So we'll just mark it as green for the time being. Next one is Cipla, I think. Okay, it's quite far away from this. Next is Coal India. It's coming down, but still the gap is too wide. But I do not want to miss any opportunity, so I'll just mark it as blue and check this particular stock within a few days. Next is Dr. Reddy. Moving averages are too wide, and there is no sign of this moving average coming down. So we'll move on to the next one, Eicher Motor. It is wide, but it's flattening and it may reverse from right here. So I'll just ignore this particular stock. Next is Gale. The distance is wide between the two moving average. Next is, let me just show you one thing. See how there was this particular moving average was coming down and then it reversed from here. It never crossed it. So something like this might happen this time too. It might come down to here or here and then reverse from here. That might happen also. So we may miss an opportunity in Gale if we do not mark the stock as blue. But again, it's your choice completely that what you want to do with this. Next is Grasim. Too far. HCL Tech. I think they will be too far. IT stocks are booming. Okay, so there was a bullish crossover on 28th of May that was last month. So we'll skip this one too. Next is HDFC Bank. They are too near. Let's just keep a watch on this. I'll mark this as blue. Next is HDFC Life. It's pointing downward. There was a bullish crossover on 14th or 15th of June. I'll just mark this stock as blue again. Next is Hero Motoko. Okay, so there was a chance of reversal or crossover from here, but now it has just reversed from here. So we'll skip this one too. Next is Hindalco. I think the moving averages will be too far away from each other. Yeah, it's too far. Next is Hindustan Unilever. Again, too far. The gap is widening. Next is HDFC. Okay, yeah, this one. Okay, so there is a great chance of crossover here, so I'll mark this stock as blue and I have to check this tomorrow or on Monday for sure. Next is ICICI Bank, too far away. Next is ITC. ITC has been a very boring stock, so Yeah, there was a bearish crossover on 23rd of June, so I'll mark this stock as red. Next is Indian Oil. The gap is too wide. There might be a crossover, I think, maybe in 17 or 18 days, or it might reverse from here once again. We don't know. We have to look at. Next is Investment Bank. Too far, it has shown a crossover on the starting of May. We might have captured this one. Next is Infosys. Too far. As I said, IT stocks will have very strong moving averages gap. Next is JSW Steel. Again, it will have very wide, I guess. Yeah, the distance is quite wide. Although the 20 EMA is flattening out, but still the gap is too wide. So we will ignore this one for the time being. Next is Kotak Bank. Uh, yeah, no, there was a chance of crossover here, but then it went down. So we'll ignore this one too. Next is Larsen and Turbo. Okay, too far away. Mahindra and Mahindra. It's very near, so I'll mark this stock as blue. Next is Maruti. Okay, sorry. Just type it down. Uh, Very huge gap. NTPC, very huge gap. Nestle, let's check. Huge gap. ONGC. Again, it's flattening out, it's coming down, but still the gap is very huge. So we'll move on to Power Grid. We'll move on from this. Let's go to Reliance. Yeah, it's coming downwards, but I think it might reverse from here too. But yeah, the gap is wide, so we'll ignore the stock for this particular analysis. Next is Shree Cement. It's quite expensive stock, cost wise. Yeah, it's coming very near, so I'll mark it as blue. We might see a crossover in this. SPI. Let's check for SBI. Very far. Sun Pharma. Very far. Tata Consultancy. Let's see. Yeah, it's again huge gap. See Tata Motors. Huge gap. Tata Steel will also have a huge gap, I'm expecting. Yeah, huge gap. Tech Mahindra. Yeah, there's a huge gap in Tech M too. Next is Titan. Very huge gap. UPL. Again, a very huge gap. Ultra Cement. Okay, so yeah, the gap is huge. The gap is huge. Next is Wipro. Okay, again, the gap is very huge. Again, it's a IT stock. We can't expect uh, a bearish crossover in the near term future in the IT stocks. Last one for this one is Zeal. Okay, it's near, but still it's quite wide, so I'll ignore this one too. Okay, now since we are done with the first pair, that is 20 and 100 EMA. Now we will be doing the same process for the second pair, that includes the exponential moving average of the period 50 and 200. So we'll start from Adani Ports once again. I'll copy this down. Now let me just change the template to moving averages 50 and 200. Yeah, you can see there are exponential moving average of 50 and 200. Let me just cut the volume. We do not need it here. All right, let's start with Adani ports. Okay, the gap is too wide. Again, the higher the period in exponential moving averages, the slower it moves. Basic mathematics. So we will be getting very few stocks in the in this particular pair, that is 50 and 200 wala EMI. So let's move on to the next stock, Asian Paint. Very far, Axis Bank. We have to repeat this whole process for all the 50 stocks. Next is Bajaj Auto, and it's quite visually it visually appears that how much the gap is, so we can just skip it. Bajaj Finance will also have a huge gap. Yeah, a huge gap. BPCL, let's see what happens. Very huge gap. We'll get very few stocks in this particular pair. Yeah, it's quite close. So we'll mark it as blue. Okay, it has already been marked as red. So let me just write 50 here and put a blue color here. That's how I will know that I have to check the 51 dollar too. Next is Britannia. There was a bullish crossover on 15th, on 14th of June. Let me just mark this as blue. Okay, it has been marked as green already. Mark it as blue also. Next is Cipla. Very huge gap. Coal India. Very huge gap. Dr. Reddy will also have a huge gap, I guess. Yeah. Eicher Motor. Again, a huge gap. Gale. Yeah, it's a huge gap. Grasim, let's see. Yeah, Grasim has been moving quite magnificently from last year 2020. It's moving quite a way. Let's move on to the next stock, HCL Tech. Huge gap. HDFC man. Again a huge gap. One thing I can do to save time is because I will be checking the stocks that are already color coded, I will anyways be checking those. So, like I have marked HDFC Bank blue for 20 wala EMA. So, when I check HDFC Bank, I will also be checking 50 and 200 EMA. It's just a click away. So, to save time, I will just check on the stocks which are not color coded anything, because those are the stocks which I won't be going into and checking, right? So I will just check out the pair of 50 and 200 EMA for the stocks which I have not color coded till now. Okay, and I will skip the stocks which I have already color coded. So I'll move on to the Hero MotoCorp. Yeah, it has shown a bearish kind of crossover and it's still trading in that particular range. So let's mark it as blue for 50 EM. Next is Hindalco, very far away as expected. Hindustan Unilever, very far away. HDFC I will again skip because I have already marked it as blue. So when I check for the 20 EMA, I will also check for the 50 and 200 EMA. So I'll move on to ICICI Bank. Again far. Indian Oil, very far. Indusland Bank, quite flattish, but I'll ignore this one. Next is Infosys. It will again have very far. Yeah, it's quite far. Next is JSW Steel. Again very far. Next is Kotak Bank. Yeah, it's going to show a bearish crossover. It might reverse from here. Like this. It may come like this and then reverse from here. Let me just color it something. Yeah, it might something happen like this too. So we can take advantage of that one also. So I'll mark this particular stock as blue for 50 EM. Next is Larsen and Turbo. Very far. I'll skip Mahindra and Mahindra. I'll jump onto Maruti directly. There was a bullish crossover. That's a very good sign when it's like a golden crossover on 23rd June. So We'll mark this particular stock as green. Yeah, 50. Next is NTPC, very far away. Next is Nestle India, quite far. ONGC, okay, sorry. Again, quite far. Power Grid, quite far. I think in Reliance you can see something. I don't know. Let's check out. Okay, no, it's too far away. I'll skip Sri Cement purposely. Next is SBI India, too far away. Sun Pharma will also have too far. Yeah, the gap is too wide. Next is Tata Consultancy. Yeah, again, as expected, the gap is too wide. Next is Tata Motors. Again, the gap is very wide, so I'll skip it. Next is Tata Steel. Again, it's quite wide. Tech Mahindra, very wide. Titan will also have a very wide gap between the moving averages. Yeah, as expected. Let's check out for UPL now. Yeah, very wide again. Ultratech Cement. Yeah, again, as expected, very wide. Wipro will also have a very wide. Let's just skip it. Let's go to Z Entertainment Limited. Okay, so it has shown a bullish crossover on 17th of June. Uh, yeah, we'll mark it as green. 151. Okay, so the analysis that we do at near the end of every month, we are finished with that. So, if you guys have any suggestions or any thoughts or any doubts regarding this particular analysis, also you can check out the returns on the analysis that we did last month on May, or the one before that on April, or the one before that that was on March. So if you want to check the returns, that how did this analysis perform, you could also comment it down, or you want me to make a video and calculate all the returns, then also you can um, write that on the comment, and I will try to make one video on that too. So, all right. So, if you have any issues with the sound quality, with the video quality, or with the analysis itself, then please feel free to mention them in the comment section below. So, thank you for watching. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you.